Informative and unpredictable, testing the limits like only we can. From Span Enterprises in Rock Hill, South Carolina, it's The Bandit Room. Hello, and thank you for joining us for another episode of The Bandit Room. I'm Charles, and our special guest here today is Mr. Ralph Norman. Ralph Norman is the current Congressman representing the 5th District of the great state of South Carolina. Thank you for joining us today, Ralph.
My pleasure.
Thanks, we appreciate that. Now, you've got an interesting background. You've had a long history in business. You've spent your life as one of the leading businessmen in the state of South Carolina. Your company, the Warren Norman Company, is become one of the leading commercial real estate developers in the state. And not only have you had a successful business career, but you've also had a successful political career, spending 10 years in the state House of Representatives. Could you introduce yourself? Now you're in Congress.
Sure.
You're new to Congress. You spent a good bit of politics, but this is a new adventure for you.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you're proud of accomplishing so far. I know it's been a lot going on during this brief time that you've had already, but if you could just elaborate a little bit on some of your proudest achievements in Congress so far.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, Charles. Pleasure to be in Span Enterprises.
Yes.
We go way back with Aggie when he first got started.
Yeah.
I'm a native of Rock Hill. I grew up here. I've been in the real estate development business for as long as I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
And am excited about where we are as a country now. I'm excited about where I think we're going.
Mm-hmm.
My business background really helped me in politics because I've seen the good side of government and I've seen the bad side of government. The reason I got into Congress was I was tired of regulations. I was tired of, taking a back seat and having other decisions coming down on us.
Mm-hmm.
But since I've been involved both in the state level and at the national level,
mm-hmm.
it's given me a whole new perspective. Business people ought to be in politics.
Mm-hmm.
As I tell people, every April 15th, we're in politics.
That's right.
Every payroll deduction, we're in politics.
That's right.
So we can call it what you want, but it's politics. Yeah. But we've got a good delegation here in South Carolina. Some of my proudest things that I've accomplished are the fact that I voted on a tax cut package that is helping all Americans.
Yeah.
The economy from unemployment to the growth of the GDP to increasing take-home pay for our individual
mm-hmm.
taxpayers, all is a good thing.
Yeah.
To see our military might now being respected instead of being a doormat, and just overall upbeat economy and upbeat attitude from businesses that your company represents and that your company deals with.
Well, thanks. We appreciate that. Now, one of the issues that you've talked quite a bit about is the issue of term limits. Mm-hmm. Now, we live in an era that's very divided politically. Mm-hmm. People like to stick to their side both on the left and the right, but there are a few issues, and I think you take some positions on a few issues that really they should be embraced by people on either side of the aisle. And one of those is term limits. Mm-hmm. I think term limits is one of those things that people agree with in theory, but for some reason there's never any action taken on that. So if you could elaborate a little bit on your position and where you stand on this.
I signed on to a term limit bill to basically have people running for the House of Representatives serve 3 terms, 6 years,
yes.
and then Senate 2 terms,
right.
12 years.
Yeah.
It always gets put back it gets buried because your long-term politicians want to stay there.
Right.
Our great republic was not meant to have people go live in Congress, live in government. I ought to have to go back and live under some of these laws that are being made. And, it's a tough sledding, but I think hopefully as we move forward, it's a constitutional amendment to change it. Mm-hmm. And if you put it to a vote by the states, it'd be overwhelming, mm-hmm. have term limits. People, will and some tell me that, every 2 years that you have elections, mm-hmm. that's a term limit. Well, when you factor in the amount of dollars that it takes for candidates to run for office, either you've got to have the money, mm-hmm. which is tough mm-hmm.
For a lot of people, me included, or you got to raise it. That's where the issue comes in. Yeah. So I'm all for term limits, and that would be the single most
single most important issue for this country if we could ever get it established.
Yeah. Another issue that I think both sides care about a great deal is Social Security. Now, people have a lot of different ideas as to how to fix it, how to keep it stable for years to come. It's something that everybody essentially depends on because we're all part of it, whether you like it or not. You know, you're contributing or you're a recipient of it, one way or the other. So, if you could let me know a little bit of your thoughts on that topic as well.
One, Social Security is our money. It's not an entitlement. It's our money. We pay in. Yep. It should be sacred, but the politicians have ruined it for as long as I can remember. Back when it was formed in the 1920s, you had 16 people paying in for every one taken out. Now, it's pretty much 1 to 1. It's going bankrupt if we don't do something by 2034. And I think as we move forward, I think you're going to have conservatives addressing the Social Security. Now, how does it fixed? One, we can't continue to rob the Social Security funding. It's been, all we have now are basic IOUs. If you went to draw the money out, if all of us died, it's insolvent. So I think it's going to have to be a combination of reforms where if you're just starting into the workforce, you may have to work a month longer. Your Social Security for that young person will be on a staggered payment. But the bottom line is you can't go bankrupt. Right. And again, I feel for those. I want to make a plan that's solvent for my grandchildren when they reach my age, that it's in a lockbox, if you will, and be there.
Okay, all right, very well. Now, the last issue I want to talk about is budgeting / the national debt. Now, historically, that's something that conservatives have cared quite a bit about. At the same time, our national debt does keep going up day by day, and it seems from an outside perspective that we might be making it harder on ourselves to fix that by cutting taxes and things like that. So can you elaborate on how you feel we're going to fix the budget, fix the national debt through these tax cut measures and things like that? Well,
you know, I wasn't elected to Congress to bankrupt the country. My one vote is I'm not doing that. Secondly, we got a spending problem. We don't have an income problem. Everybody in Congress, and I've been there now a little over a year, wants to cut. But until it cuts their program. I can't tell you the number of people that go through my office who are addicted to government. Aggie started his business with equity of himself. He didn't get a government bailout to start a business. But what we're going to have to do, and those of us, I won the Taxpayer Hero Award, and I tell you that because I consider it a mortal sin for me to put debt on unborn children when they have no say-so. It's on our watch to try to cure that. Now, the last president, Obama, doubled the national debt from 10 trillion to 22 trillion. Now, is the tax cuts adding to that? Yes. But the problem is this country was stagnant for the last 8 years. We grew at 1.5, 2% of GDP. Now we're growing at 4.6. Unemployment, 3.6. It was up to as high as 12 with President Obama. You had to get the economy going. I will always favor giving money back to the taxpayer. Now, where we start cutting is part of the reason I put out my Wasteful Wednesdays, where I highlighted giveaway programs that would make the average taxpayer cry, make him laugh first when he saw the $300,000 to test the cigar flavor. When he saw the $1.2 million for a toga party for a certain university. When you saw $700,000 for congressmen to relate with their staff better. But all that goes is to highlight it, and then to take a hard stance. And if we have a Speaker of the House that sets the agenda, you will see us making progress. I'm simply not willing to bankrupt the country.
Okay, all right. Can I get your thoughts on small business? Since we are at Span Enterprises, we've got a history with you. We appreciate, the history that we have as far as with you, with Warren Norman, things like that. And could you talk a little bit about how you see the future looking in America for small businesses?
I'm part of small business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a politician.
Right.
I hold a political office, but I'm not a typical politician.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to make businesses like what Aggie has done
Mm-hmm.
sprout up all over South Carolina and all over our country.
Okay.
And small business is the backbone of America.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at what this president's done with regulations, as an example,
Right.
regulations have been cut. The National Registry, when he took office, was 964,000 pages.
Mm-hmm.
It's down now to 661,000.
Mm-hmm.
Still too much, but cutting regulations, making it so that if you want to go out, you and your spouse want to go out and start a business, make it easy for them, because profit is not a bad word. That's what funds our schools, our police, our fire departments, and we've got to get the entrepreneurial spirit back and make it business friendly. And that's what I'm excited about doing. And really, that's one of the reasons I ran for Congress.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining. Any final thoughts? Any final thoughts about the future? Anything you want to get out there?
Seeing what y'all have done,
Yeah.
seeing him start from a small office
Yeah.
of one person, grow into how many have you got?
26. Yeah.
26 is what this country's all about.
Yeah.
He's done the American dream.
That's right.
And I want to make that available to everybody.
Yeah.
Government didn't build this
Exactly.
economy.
No, yeah,
Small business built the economy.
Exactly. No, there was no bailouts involved in that.
No.
It was,
And I want to do whatever I can to promote that.
all right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you
Charles,
for coming by.
thank you.
You have a
I
wonderful
appreciate
day.
it.
Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.